Hey everybody, happy Wellness Wednesday. Marco Rodriguez coming at you. So over the past few months, I've had a number of you asking me to share a little bit more about biohacking, how it works, and why we're so passionate about it. Invariably, one of the questions that's asked is, why don't more physicians know about this? So today, I want to take just a little bit of time to answer some basic questions about biohacking. Now, first of all, biohacking in and of itself is not a science. It's a term that's often used within the science of nutrigenomics, which is the science of how natural compounds affect you all the way down to your to the expression of your genes. Now, it's no secret that if you eat junk food, as a primary source, you're probably not going to maintain a very healthy body for very long. On the other hand, if you eat healthy and you get the proper nutrients into your body, well, you put your body in a better position to maintain a state of homeostasis, which is health. Now, the science of nutrigenomics goes a little deeper than that. It actually looks at how natural compounds affect your body all the way down to the way your genes express themselves. Now, the human genome mapping was completed from 1990 to the year 2000, and we now know that your body has over 20,000 genes. But what most people don't know is that only 10% of those genes are set. And in other words, science hasn't figured out yet how to manipulate or alter those genes. But that means that the other 90% of your genes are dynamic and they can be turned on, turned off. Many of them can even function like a dimmer switch, or they can be upregulated or downregulated. Now, a good example of this is your inflammatory genes. Your inflammatory genes are very necessary. If you roll your ankle, and what happens to your ankle? The inflammatory genes are activated and your ankle swells up. It becomes inflamed. And that's a very important part because it protects the ankle from further injury. But the problem lies is that because of the environmental toxins that we're exposed to every day, the polluted non-food that we eat and the polluted air that we breathe, it is really taking a toll on our bodies. And we all want, cleaner air, but no one's willing to give up their cars, right? So think about it. For all of human existence, the earth has been clean, the food was real, and everything's changed over the past 100 years, and the human species hasn't had enough time to evolve or to adapt to those changes. So the results are that we now have over 200 diseases. Now understand this, 200 diseases or more are linked to just a handful of factors. Now, many people believe that every disease comes from some enigmatic source, and that's what many people want you to believe, because if you believe that, then you are put into a position where you are feeling powerless and you're dependent on them for the solution. Hence the rise of Big Pharma. Now, they have been very successful at convincing us that we need them to survive. Even though the human race has existed for thousands upon thousands of years without medication, we are now convinced that we need medication to live. And here's the irony. According to a Harvard study, which was backed up by the Center for Disease Control, pharmaceuticals are now amongst the number 3 killer in America, behind cancer and heart disease. You heard that right. Pharmaceuticals is included as the number 3 killer in America. The very drugs that were designed to help us are now included as the number 3 killer in America. That's insanity. Humans rarely die of old age anymore. We die of disease, and we die from the medications that are designed to treat the disease. Here's another disturbing statistic. According to Dr. Tamara Pfeiffer, it generally takes 30 to 50 years of new research to filter down into general practice in medicine. So if you're wondering why your doctor doesn't know about biohacking, there you have it. There is research right now that will not make it to mainstream medicine and affect your life until it's too late for you. Now, in my clinic, we have over 40 physicians that we work with, and I can tell you with a great deal of certainty that the other reason has to do with the fact that many physicians are so busy working that they don't have the time to adequately stay abreast of the new research. So many of them are stuck in what they learned 10 or 20 years ago. And that's probably why I've researched health and wellness and nutrigenomics for the last 30 years. Early on in my health career, I worked in an inpatient rehab hospital, and most of my patients were over the age of 55 They had various diagnoses such as knee replacements, hip replacements, laminectomies, and so forth. And even though each of them came into the hospital with a very specific health condition, I noticed that the majority of them had a list of other common comorbidities. These included things like diabetic or pre-diabetic, hypertension, pre-hypertension, and it seemed like all of them had a cholecystectomy. They also had things like osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis, dementia at various stages, and just numerous other comorbidities. And I remember thinking to myself, this is where we're all heading. I felt like I'd gotten a glimpse into my future, and I knew that if I didn't do something about it now, I would end up just like them. It was then that I decided that I would not go out that way. I would do everything I can to postpone those age-related diseases. So I became very focused on the preventative aspect of my own health and wellness. I became intrigued with the science of biogerontology, which looks at how to clean up and minimize the cumulative damage in your body before it creates disease. And I believe that it was this 30-year journey that led me to realize, it helped me to realize that we need to take a role in our health. And that's what I love most about biohacking movement. Biohacking is about understanding your own biochemistry and genetics. And I love how Dr. Pfeiffer calls it precision medicine. The goal isn't just to find a million different treatments or cures to relinquish these diseases. It's about pursuing health beyond just the absence of disease and going into a place of performance health optimization. It's not just about looking better or feeling better, but activating your cells so that your cells have a type of memory. They remember what it was like when they were healthy, and they want to return to that state of homeostasis. You, not your doctor, and not your medication, but you are ultimately responsible for taking the lead role in your own health. And there's different ways of doing that, obviously. I mean, you want to control your eating habits, and you can't live on fast food alone, and that's just a small part of it. But we also want to be aware and being proactive of our environment. But beyond that, we focus on our nutraceuticals to create an internal cellular environment so that you are less likely to get those predisposed diseases by altering your genetic expression. As I mentioned before, the human genome mapping was completed in the year 2000, and that's led to all kinds of new discoveries and tests. Here's a good example. As far as I know, there are 3 types of genetic testing. For instance, we can test high penetrance genes such as the BRCA1 and the BRCA2 genes associated with breast cancer. Testing positive for high penetrance genes makes it very likely that you're going to be within 90th percentile that you're going to get that illness. On the other hand, low penetrance testing is a type of testing that allows us to understand how our bodies deals with inflammation, how our body processes toxins, how likely are we to put on fat or lose fat, what kind of exercise is best for us. Now, understanding that genetic map allows you to make adjustments in your lifestyle, plugging the holes with the right nutrients. And that's where biohacking comes into play. One of the biggest topics that has come to the forefront within the science of nutrigenomics is how oxidative stress or free radicals affect our bodies. Now, oxidative stress is a normal process in our bodies that comes from the food you eat, the air you breathe, even exercise. So our bodies were designed to deal with a certain amount of oxidative stress. However, our genes were not designed to process the unprecedented amount of environmental toxins that we're exposed to on a daily basis. The environment has changed at a much faster rate than our body's ability to adapt. So the level of free radicals and the radiation and other environmental assaults our bodies are bombarded with overwhelms our bodies because we simply don't have the resources available to deal with the natural forms of oxidative stress as well as the punishment from the environment. Now, some of you might be wondering, so what? What does this have to do with me? Or why should this be important to you? Oxidative stress causes low-grade inflammation. It's almost like a low-grade damage to the cells that's occurring all the time, and it's poisoning your cells. Because of the amount of environmental assault that your cells are faced with every day, you simply don't have a strong enough defense system, and it starts to damage the cells, and the result is a breakdown in the cells and the tissue associated with what I call the weaker genetic links. Because of all that, nowadays, we need to be a little smarter than we used to be, and here's what I mean. So we used to think that if you took one antioxidant, it would kill off one free radical. And that worked very well in a petri dish, but according to Dr. Pfeiffer, it doesn't work that well in the human body. And the reason is because the antioxidants are really unstable. So when you open up a bottle and it's exposed to oxygen, that starts to break down the antioxidant. And then once you put it into your mouth, the saliva breaks it down some more. Then it goes into your stomach where the acids and the digestive enzymes break it down further. By the time your supplement, your antioxidant, gets to your lower intestines for absorption, it's primarily the phytonutrients left and not so much the antioxidant potential that existed in the petri dish. Researchers now point to the fact that the smarter way to combat oxidative stress is not by taking antioxidants, but rather through activating certain genetic pathways that already exist within your cells so that your body can produce their own antioxidants such as catalase, glutathione, superoxide dismutase, which are all enzymes in your body that are activated. They're all activated through your Nrf1 and Nrf2 pathway. And all that happens inside the endoplasmic reticulum as well as in your SIR1 and your SIR1 and SIR2 genes. And when you activate them within every cell of your body simultaneously, you fortify your entire body's ability to combat the environmental onslaught it faces every day. I mean, my gosh, supplementation is so 1990s. It's like comparing the old cell phones to a modern day cell phone. Now think about this, right? The old cell phones, remember those big bricks, right? The old cell phones did give you wireless communication. But which one would you rather have today? I, for one, am glad to have transitioned into utilizing the latest in biotechnology, affectionately known as biohacking. And particularly biohacking with Nrf1 and Nrf2, as well as boosting my sirtuins. And how important is that to boost your Nrf2? So I'll put it this way. Washington State University said that Nrf2, the discovery of Nrf2, may well become the most extraordinary therapeutic and most extraordinary preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine. Did you get that? I mean, this is Washington State University. In fact, Nrf2 is so powerful that some pharmaceutical companies are now trying to produce a synthetic version of this Nrf2 medication, right? MD Anderson is starting to study Nrf2 as a viable treatment for cancer. And yet, biohacking scientists have known this for decades. It all goes back to what I said earlier when I said that it usually takes 30 to 50 years for discoveries to make it into mainstream medicine. I don't know about you, but I'm not waiting 30 to 50 years. So according to Dr. Tamara Pfeiffer, she's affectionately known as the biohacking doctor. There was a study stating that Nrf2 actually activates over 3,000 different antioxidants in your own body. Now think about that. You can take vitamin E, yes. But again, by the time it gets through your stomach, your digestive system and everything, and it gets absorbed, it's almost worthless. Or you can biohack with an Nrf2 activator and activate over 3,000 different antioxidants that already exist inside of your body. That's the difference between supplementation and activation. The study also had some really surprising findings in that by activating your Nrf2 was important in remyelinating your nerves, up to 60%. So in case you don't know what that means, every nerve in your body has an outer covering called a myelin sheath. It's a form of insulation around the nerves which allows the nerves or your nervous system to conduct messages back and forth. Well, one of the nasty things that oxidative stress does is it causes holes or breakdown in the myelin sheath. And we know that, for example, aspartame, which is a sweetener that's used in diet drinks and other low-calorie foods, is clinically proven to destroy the myelin sheath. And over time, this leads to many neurologic diseases as well as musculoskeletal diseases. Some of them include Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, as well as just a lot of different neurologic and musculoskeletal diseases. But activating your Nrf2 pathway has been clinically proven to reestablish the integrity of the myelin sheath of your nervous system by up to 60%. That's a massive discovery. But why hasn't it made to mainstream medicine yet? Well, I guess we'll have to wait another 30 to 50 years. I don't know about you, but I'm not waiting 30 to 50 years to find out. All right, so that concludes our Wellness Wednesday for today. Next week, I will continue on how biohacking can help you, and we'll focus more on the Nrf1 pathway. It's so important for your long-term health. So everyone, thank you for tuning in to Wellness Wednesday. And remember, as I always like to say, there is a better way to live.